Deep beneath the earth, in the forgotten corridors of the abandoned Silvercliff Mine, darkness reigned supreme. It had been decades since the mine's tunnels echoed with the sounds of pickaxes and miners' laughter. The entrance, once a gateway to prosperity, now stood as a jagged mouth, swallowing any brave soul foolish enough to venture inside. The legend of the Silvercliff Mine monster was well known in the nearby town. Whispers spoke of a creature that appeared shortly after the mine's collapse in 1932, when 23 miners were trapped after an unexpected cave-in. Only one man emerged, covered in soot and blood, his mind shattered by terror. He babbled incoherently about a thing with too many eyes that had hunted them in the dark. Evan, a thrill-seeking journalist, dismissed the tale as mere superstition. Every small town has its ghost stories, he scoffed, recording the faded warning signs near the mine's entrance. Equipped with a flashlight, a camera, and a backpack of supplies, he stepped into the yawning void, determined to expose the truth. The air grew colder as he descended, the weight of the earth pressing down on him. Walls glistened with moisture, and the faint drip of water echoed like distant footsteps. Evan's flashlight revealed rusty tracks, splintered wood beams, and ancient graffiti left by miners long gone. He spoke into his recorder, his voice steady despite the growing unease in his chest. The Silvercliff Mine is eerily preserved, as if time stopped the day it closed. There's no sign of anything unusual yet, but... His words trailed off as he noticed deep gouges in the stone walls, as if something with claws had passed through. He shivered but pressed on, convincing himself it was just erosion. Hours passed, or so it seemed. Evan lost track of time in the labyrinth of tunnels. The deeper he went, the more oppressive the silence became. It wasn't until he reached a cavernous chamber that the flashlight began to flicker. He cursed, tapping it until the beam steadied. In the dim light, he saw the remnants of an old mining camp, rusted tools, overturned carts, and skeletal remains. The air reeked of decay. And then he heard it, a low, guttural growl that vibrated through his chest. Evan froze, his pulse hammering in his ears. Slowly, he swung the flashlight toward the sound. At first, he saw nothing but shadows, but then they moved. The creature stepped into the light, and Evan's breath hitched. It was massive, its hunched frame brushing the cavern's ceiling. Its skin was mottled and leathery, a grotesque patchwork of scars and veins. Multiple eyes, gleaming like wet obsidian, blinked in unison across its face. Its mouth, filled with jagged teeth, stretched into an unnatural grin. It was both alien and disturbingly human, as if it had once been something else entirely. Evan's instincts screamed at him to run, but his legs refused to move. The monster's many eyes locked onto him, and it let out a bone-chilling screech that echoed endlessly. The sound snapped him out of his trance. He turned and bolted, the flashlight swinging wildly as he retraced his steps. The creature's heavy footsteps thundered behind him, closing the distance with terrifying speed. He stumbled over a broken rail, crashing to the ground. The flashlight rolled away, its beam illuminating the monster's grotesque form as it loomed over him. Desperate, Evan reached into his backpack and pulled out his camera. With shaking hands, he snapped photo after photo, the flash momentarily disorienting the creature. It recoiled, its many eyes blinking rapidly. Seizing the opportunity, Evan scrambled to his feet and ran, navigating the tunnels by memory. The creature's enraged roars followed him, growing fainter as he neared the mine's entrance. Finally, he burst into the open air, collapsing onto the dirt as dawn painted the sky. As he lay on the ground, Evan's trembling hands fumbled with the camera. He reviewed the photos he had taken, each flash capturing the horror that had pursued him. But the last image sent a shiver down his spine. It was no longer the monster's grotesque face staring back at him, but a single human eye surrounded by darkened flesh, as if the creature was shifting into something new. Determined to warn the town, Evan stumbled into the nearest diner. His disheveled appearance and frantic recounting of the events drew a crowd. He begged them to believe him, showing the photos as proof. But as the images passed from hand to hand, they began to fade, as though the creature's existence could not be captured by man's technology. Back in his motel room, Evan couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The air felt heavy, and shadows seemed to move just out of sight. He locked the door, wedging a chair under the handle, and sat with his back to the wall. But no barrier could keep out what came next. The last sound Evan heard was the same guttural growl that had haunted him in the mine. The creature, now fully transformed, stood in the corner of the room, its eyes reflecting the dim light. The camera fell from Evan's trembling hands as the darkness swallowed him whole. In the silence that followed, the town grew restless. Reports of strange disappearances surfaced, all linked to those who had heard Evan's story. A chilling connection between the mine and its cursed history became undeniable. Meanwhile, back in the mine, the echoes of monstrous growls now blended with distant, chilling whispers. These whispers seemed to lure the unwary deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels, ensuring they never returned. The town's mayor organized a search party to investigate the growing concerns. Armed with lanterns and resolve, they ventured into the mine only to be met with unspeakable horrors that were never spoken of again. Evan's story became a legend. Parents used it to scare children into obedience, while others embellished the tale, warning against the perils of greed and hubris. But for those who dared to venture close, the mine still stood, silent and foreboding. Its jagged mouth seemed almost to breathe, waiting patiently for the next unfortunate soul. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.